spokesman from the big city.
Hi friends, and welcome back to another Vlogmas vlog. Today is Saturday, December 19th at about 11:45 a.m. So I'm about to sit down and film some videos. As you can see, I'm in my kind of more formal filming location, including my review and discussion video for The Shadow King, which I ended up finishing last night. So that video will definitely already be up by the time this video goes up, as I'm posting it later today. But before I do that, I did want to update you on what I'll be reading this week. Primarily, I do have like a special project that I'm working on, but I also will be working on some of the books that I've already talked about in previous vlogs or in previous videos, as I realized this morning when looking at my like reading goals for the last part of 2020 that in order to finish all the books that I want to finish, I have to finish a book every single day, which is potentially possible, but probably not likely. So there are a couple ones, particularly arcs, that are coming out in January that I think I might just have to push to January, which my January TBR is already looking a little intense, but you know, it's fine. January will just be an ambitious month. So there are 3 nonfiction books that I'm currently reading that I would like to make some major progress on. Probably reading like a small chunk of each of these every day between now and the end of the year. The first one is Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram x Kendi. I'm about 120 pages into this one, really enjoying it quite a lot, and it's pretty readable, so even though it's quite long, I don't think I will have any trouble finishing this before the end of the year. I'm in Thomas Jefferson's section right now, and it's just been really fascinating to learn about the ways in which people kind of justified racism and enslavement of African people in such interesting ways, and they had ideas that potentially could be considered like anti-racist, as Kendi likes to put them, but at the same time they were also slaveholders themselves. So very fascinating book so far, really intrigued to keep reading in that one. On a related time period, I also have American Eden, David Hozar, Botany and the Medicine in the Garden of the Early Republic. This is one that I was reading back at the end of November and then put down for now several weeks, and I'd like to pick this back up again so I can finish it before the end of the year. A significant chunk of the back of this book is notes and stuff, so yeah, like that's how much is notes, so I definitely do think I'll be able to finish this one. I was listening to it on audiobooks, so hopefully I will be able to continue listening to this one, probably about a chapter a day before I finish that. And then I also have Walkable City by Jeff Speck, which I'm only about 50 pages into, but do want to kind of get back into it just so I can finish it before at the end of the year. So those are the 3 physical books. I also have 2 books on my Kindle, the first of which is Kink Stories, which is edited by Garth, Greenwell and Kwon. My Kindle says I only have about an hour left, so ideally I will be finishing this one today. And then I also have Aria by Nazanine Hozar, which I think I'm about 20% of the way through and will likely be reading this week and next week. But then my primary goal for the books that I'm reading this week is to finish my Reading Women 2020 challenge. Of the Reading Women challenge prompts for this year, I have finished 20 of them as of now, December 19th. I just finished one, which was New Daughters of Africa, just yesterday or 2 days ago, but I do still have 4 prompts left. Technically 3, because there's one prompt that I could use a different book, but I'd rather read this one, so we'll see if I'm able to get to that. So I'll do that one first, which is the prompt to read a book about a woman who inspires you. So for that, I originally picked Visionary Women, How Rachel Carson, Jane Jacobs, Jane Goodall, and Alice Waters Changed Our World by Andrea Barnett. This book is a biography of these 4 women, all of whom I am familiar with, and all of whom are definitely an inspiration to me in a lot of my views, and have been people that when I discovered them I was like, wow, this lady is really awesome. So I'm super excited that all 4 of them are being discussed together in this book. It is quite long though, so I'm not entirely sure I'll be able to finish it. However, if I don't finish it, I think I will use Barbara Kingsolver's How to Fly in 10,000 Easy Lessons, which is technically about Barbara. I mean, it is a poetry collection, but Barbara definitely inspires me. So if this one does not get finished, then that's what I'll be using for this challenge. But I am super excited about this one, and I think throughout this week I'll be listening to this one on audiobook. Then, to fulfill the prompt of a book, a picture book written by a woman of color, I believe is the prompt, I have Elatsoe by Darcie Littlebadger, which is illustrated by Rowena Kai. And technically this is a YA book, or maybe like middle grade YA, somewhere between those 2 age ranges, but it does have illustrations in it at the beginning of the chapters, and also it has an illustrator credited on the cover, so I'm going to count this because I want to read this. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this one. This was a 2020 release by Littlebadger, who is a member of the Apache tribe, the Lipon Apache tribe in Texas. and it's about a young Apache girl who I believe can see ghosts, and she gets involved in some interesting activities. I don't know a ton else about this. I think it's a fantasy novel about her kind of saving the world, and I've just heard it's really amazing, and I'm hoping will be pretty quick to get through. So my plan is actually to start this one today, Saturday, and finish it by the end of the day tomorrow on Sunday. So that's my plan to complete this prompt. Then I also have 2 other books, both of which that I'm going to read kind of throughout the like work week, quote unquote, even though I'm not working next week. So the first of those is Laila Lamani's The Moor's Account. This one I'll be using for the read a book by an Arab author prompt, and this is a historical literary fiction novel about an enslaved boy or maybe young man who is the slave of a conquistador, so one of the first arrivals to the Americas. So it sounds really fascinating, and it's supposed to be kind of his fictionalized diary entry, so I'm super intrigued about that. The only thing is that this book has the world's smallest font, so I do think it's going to take a little while to get through this one, but otherwise it is relatively short, so I'm definitely intrigued about this one and have heard just like really amazing things about this. And then finally, the last prompt that I have yet to finish is a winner of the Stella Prize or a winner of the Women's Prize. And so I've picked The Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver, which, as you can see, won the Orange Prize back when it was called the Orange Prize. So I think she won in 2010 maybe, but this is one of the few Barbara Kingsolver books that I've not read, and I've had this one on my shelves for quite a while. I've heard kind of mixed things about this one in the past, but then I know at some point this year Doris at Aldi Books read this and like really loved it, so I'm intrigued about this one and will definitely be reading it, although it's like 500 pages, so it's a project as well. So those are the 4 Reading Women books that I'm going to be focusing my attention on during this vlog. I also do have Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, which was one of the bonus prompts, was to read a book by Toni Morrison. However, I'm not going to rush this one, and so I'm just going to save it till 2021, and I will savor my next Toni Morrison at some point in the future. So this one was originally going to be on this TBR, but is no longer on this TBR. So those are all of my updates for right now. As I said, I'm about to film some videos. I probably won't have a ton of other updates today because I do want to do a bunch of like batch editing of the videos that I filmed recently. So I will probably check in with you next tomorrow. Sorry for the weird angle. As you can see, the sun is coming in like right where I was sitting, so I've like moved way over. But I was just reading Stamped from the beginning as a little break from editing a video that's going up later today, and it's talking about the yellow fever epidemic of 1793 and Benjamin Rush, who features quite prominently in this one, American Eden, which is always just so fun. So I just wanted to point that out just because I love when books are talking to each other. Hi all, it's about 5 o'clock on Sunday, December 20th. I don't have a ton to update you on, so this is gonna be pretty short. But the first thing I did want to mention is that this morning I finished Kink Stories, but I finished this. It was okay. I didn't actually particularly like it all that much. I found the stories to be like pretty just boring in terms of not offering that much as an actual short story and kind of more just being like poorly written sex scenes, so didn't love that. There were a couple stories that I did enjoy, such as The Cure by Melissa Febos, so definitely an author I want to check out in the future. Brandon Taylor's Oh Youth, which is actually the primary reason that I requested the anthology, and it did not disappoint. And then also Carmen Maria Machado's story, which has a very long name that I don't remember, but it's in my Goodreads review, which will be on Goodreads. My Goodreads is always linked down below. That one was also good because it was like an actual short story with like a plot and stuff, so enjoyed that one. And then also throughout the day, in between editing some videos that I batch filmed yesterday, I've been reading Elatsoe, so I'm now 127 pages into this, and it's pretty fun. It also is the most like beautiful hardcover, and it's really soft as a hardcover. You know, most hardcovers are kind of like a papery, like more cloth material, and this one is like an actual kind of like piece of hard cardboard, so that's fun. But this one has been enjoyable so far. It reads pretty young for a YA book, but I think it is meant to be YA, but that's fine. Sometimes I honestly prefer YA to have like a reading level that feels appropriate for actual young adult readers. And this one also has like a mystery component to it, which I didn't quite realize, but I am enjoying it so far. So those are all my updates for right now. I'm not really sure. I'll update you later today. We might be doing some Christmas baking later, so if we do that, I definitely will update you. So it's about 7 p.m. on Monday, December 21st, and today just really totally got away from me. I think in part because I was editing a video for a lot of this morning, which was my Reading Women 2021 reading plans, which I'll put a link to up in the cards above. And then also my mom and I went to the grocery store, which is where we saw the sunset, which you should have just seen, which both of those things don't like theoretically take a lot of time, but then in actuality they do take a lot of time. So I think my day just kind of got taken up with stuff like that. We also had to make like a meal plan and a grocery list, so that took some time. But yeah, I do have a few things that I want to update you on, so I figured I would just quickly do that now. The first of which is, as you saw from the cat trying to get in the book of the month box, my book of the month box did arrive, so I thought I'd show you what 2 books that I got this month, along with the cutest little stickers. I'm not quite sure what I'll do with these yet, but they're very precious. So the first book I got was The Office of Historical Corrections by Danielle Evans, which is a novella and stories, and this is Evans's second work, I believe. Yes, she has a previous short story collection as well, and I actually talked about this one I think in my anticipated releases for the last quarter of 2020 video, which I will put a link to up in the cards above. But this is one that I'm really intrigued about. I think they all are about like kind of racial reckoning in America, which is definitely a subject that interests me. Evans considers how and why some people choose to confront histories and others to outrun it. So super excited about these stories. We'll hopefully be getting to them at some point in the near future. And then I also got This Close to Okay by Lisa Cross Smith, which actually doesn't come out till February of 2021. And this one is about a black woman who is a therapist who saves a white man from jumping off a bridge. And I believe there's also some reconciliation in this one and kind of discussions about humanity and like the importance of your life, really. So kind of like It's a Wonderful Life vibes a little bit in this one too, perhaps. So intrigued about this one, and it was another one that I was intrigued about reading anyway. I talked about this one in my January to March 2021 anticipated releases, which should already be up. I just scheduled it earlier today to post tomorrow, Tuesday, so I'll put a link to that up in the cards above as well. So yeah, those are the 2 book of the month books I got. I also had some reading updates for you. The first of which is that I am about 200 pages into Elatsoe and really enjoying this one. So I can't remember how much I said about this one previously, but it's a young adult, but it reads kind of on the younger side of young adult mystery with some fantastical elements, and I'm really enjoying both the mystery. I think I'm predicting how the mystery will turn out, but I'm really enjoying the kind of conversation that that mystery is providing in terms of like themes of colonization and displacement. I think that'll be really fascinating. And then there also is a lot of discussion here about history and our relationship with history, particularly geologic history, which I believe it says at the back that Darcie Little Badger is an earth scientist, writer, and fan of the weird, beautiful, and haunting. And you can definitely tell that she's an earth scientist because there's a lot of like just paleobiological love in here, which I also love. I'm a huge paleobiology fan, so I've been really intrigued about those elements as well. And our main character, Ellie, or Elatsoe, is able to kind of move between the ghost world and the human world, and in the ghost world every animal that has ever lived, and I believe every person that has ever lived, is present there. So she can like go back through time and also like use fossils to bring back animals from the past, which I think is just such an interesting, unique idea. So really enjoying that element of this quite a lot. I also last night started Mangoes and Mistletoe, which is a holiday romance novella that is 2 Dominican women on a baking competition. You know, one of the classic like Great British Bake Off, except it's like one of the holiday cookie editions. And this one seems really fun. I'm about 20% of the way into it and will hopefully make some good progress in that this evening. And then I've also really been enjoying Visionary Women. I'm only about like 36 pages into this one, but really engaging, really well written, and also I just can tell that these 4 women and their lives are going to be very interesting and relevant to my interests. And then the last update I had for you is that earlier today I got approved for Sorrowland by River Solomon, which is out from FSG in May of 2021. And this one I requested because I've read River Solomon's 2 previous works, both of which I really enjoyed. I mean, it's difficult to describe. So both of them are The Unkindness of Ghost and The Deep. Both have absolutely just like groundbreaking, fantastic ideas that are being presented here, like such innovation in terms of thinking about the ways that history impacts and can be retold through a like science fiction fantasy lens. Love both of them for that reason, but both of them I kind of struggled with the narrative piece of that and how it like presented itself as an actual story. So I'm intrigued about Starland. I can't quite get a sense from the blurb what bigger themes and exploration are being discussed in this one, but I do know it's about a pregnant woman who leaves her very repressive society to like go be in the woods, and I believe she kind of turns into a monster, maybe. Honestly, I have no idea, but I am intrigued about this one and definitely will be reading it at some point in the next several months. So I was excited to see that I got approved for that. I am slowly resigning myself to the fact that I likely will not finish all the books that I'm hoping to finish by the end of 2020, and that's okay. There's books are allowed to cross over between 2020 and 2021. Also, I can just read more books in 2021 at the beginning of January. That will be fine too. So yeah, I was thinking about that because I just have so many books that I'm trying to get through, like 10 or 11 or maybe even 12, I don't exactly remember. And it's already the 21st of December and there's like family things that I'm trying to do. So yeah, that's something that I've determined is going to be all good. So I think with that all being said, those are the end of my updates. So I'll probably check in with you next tomorrow. So it's about 12 noon on Wednesday, December 23rd. I did not update you much yesterday because we were doing a holiday movie marathon and also making some sugar cookies, which I should have put a little bit of footage from in this vlog. So hopefully you saw some of that. I would have gotten more footage, but they turned out incredibly ugly. They are delicious, but they're really ugly. So we didn't want to include them too much in the vlog. But I did want to give you some reading updates because I've not updated you since Monday afternoon, I guess, and several things have happened in terms of my reading. The most important of which is that I finished Elatsoe by Darcie Little Badger on Monday evening and really enjoyed this one quite a lot. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. Would highly recommend. So it's a YA fantasy that almost reads a bit more like middle grade. I definitely think it's on the younger side of YA. That is about a young woman, that's about a young woman named Ellie who is officially Elatsoe, and she is living in kind of our world, and she is live pan Apache, as is Darcie Little Badger, and she can interact with the spirit world. And then when her cousin Trevor passes away in what appears to have been a freak car accident, but Ellie believes something more sinister was at play, Ellie goes to his town to investigate, and kind of the story ensues from there. So there's a mystery about what happened to Trevor, as well as a mystery kind of surrounding this town that Trevor was killed in, which is the town next to where he lives. So I thought that was really interesting. I loved the ways in which Little Badger included ideas of Hitler colonialism and like issues of land rights within this narrative. I think that was really awesome and really well done, particularly for a book that's for a slightly younger audience. I also found Ellie's connections to Below, which is the kind of ghost world in her culture. I'm not sure if that's true also in general live pan Apache culture, if that was something that Little Badger used specifically for this novel, but I thought that was really engaging as well. And Little Badger, actually, I think I said this previously, but she's an earth scientist, and so she includes a lot of kind of paleobiology in this book as well, which I really enjoyed because that's something that I'm very interested in. And yeah, I really enjoyed Ellie and her friend Jay. I thought they were great main characters and really kind of fully realized, and just overall it was a really phenomenal book. I would highly recommend it if you read this age range. I think even if you don't, I do think there's a lot of kind of interesting ideas to unpack here in terms of an indigenous mystery slash fantasy. I think there's a lot that is really thought-provoking in here that I think a lot of readers would get a lot out of. I also think that if you are a fan of the Percy Jackson books, that you would probably like this, as it gave me similar Percy Jackson vibes in that the characters are very spunky and kind of fun, and there's both parts of our world as well as parts of this other world. I also found similarities between this and the Raven Cycle, so if those are books that you're a fan of, I would also recommend this. And then also there's a few hints towards the end especially that reminded me of Catherine House, which is an adult like literary fiction horror mystery novel that I read early in the year and really enjoyed, and I feel like this had some similar vibes in terms of a creepy external force that has some sort of greater commentary that it's making on like white supremacy and society at large. So really enjoyed all of those aspects of this book and definitely would recommend it. Then on Monday evening, I also started The Moor's Account by Lalami, I believe is how you say her last name. And this one, I'm about 100-ish pages. Yeah, I'm about 90 pages into this one and enjoying it so far. It's a little slow moving for me right now, but I am finding the story really interesting. This is a historical fiction novel set in the early 1600s, I would say, probably following what was in actuality like Cortez's journey inland in what was later to become the United States to find gold, as there were rumors that there was gold somewhere in the inland of Central America and North America. So this is kind of a fictionalized account of that, told from the perspective of a Moroccan slave who is a slave to the Portuguese. So that part is really, or maybe the Spanish, I'm not entirely sure. He's Spanish. So that part is really interesting. The story kind of flip-flops between his backstory in Morocco and his current enslavement in the Americas, which I find really engaging. It's a part of history that I'm somewhat familiar with, and so it's been kind of intriguing to read this somewhat new perspective on it, and I'm enjoying it so far. But as I said, it is pretty slow, so I'm not moving super quickly through this, although I have made some pretty significant progress in this one. So this one is going to be one that I'm hoping to finish potentially tomorrow. I don't have any plans today or tomorrow, although tomorrow is Christmas Eve, except to kind of just read and chill. So this one is going to be a focus of trying to finish in the next couple days. I also am hoping to finish Walkable City by Jeff Speck in the next couple days, which I was just reading before I updated you, and I have only about 90 pages left, and this one actually moves pretty quickly, and this one is engaging. I'm finding it quite interesting given that this is a subject matter that I'm really interested in. I do think if you were not a planner or civil engineer or someone who worked in city government like by trade, you would not find this very engaging, because it's not really providing any advice for lay people. It's much more a kind of large policy and engineering perspective on how to make cities more walkable and like what steps need to be taken to do that. So finding this one enjoyable, but it is like pretty dense and like policy driven, if that makes sense. And then finally, I'm a little over halfway done with Mangoes and Mistletoe by Adriana Herrera, which I'm enjoying. I think I'll probably end up giving all like 3.5 stars or so. It's not blowing me out of the water, but then again, romance novellas are so short that sometimes the kind of story elements are not really there, and it's much more just the kind of fun romance elements of like, you know, the smutty times and the cuteness and stuff, which is fine, but not exactly like a full-blown narrative, if that makes sense. Although I do find the premise enjoyable, which is that it's like a holiday baby show. I feel like I've updated you on all of these books previously, and so I'm just like repeating what I've already said. But those are my reading plans for the next 2 days, is to kind of focus and finish those 3 books. So then I'll only have 5 books that I'm working on between Christmas and the end of the year, which does feel manageable. I did decide that I don't think I'm going to pick up the Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver, so I will just have to skip this prompt of reading a book that has won the Orange/Women's Flies/ the Stella's Prize, just because this book is really long and I want to prioritize finishing all the books that I am reading as opposed to trying to start a new book. So those are kind of all my updates for today. I don't really have, as I said, any other plans today except to just do a bunch of reading, so hopefully I'll be able to finish at least 1 or maybe 2 or maybe even 3 of these books today, and then finish any of the ones I don't finish today tomorrow. So I will potentially check in with you later today if I do finish any of those books, and if not, I will see you tomorrow. Y'all, how did it take me until page 165 in this book to look up any of the characters and realize that they're real people? So the main leader of this expedition is Senor Narvaez. I have not taken Spanish a long time, so I don't entirely know, but he apparently was a real person living in the 1500s. And I believe earlier I said that this is like a fictionalized account of Hernan de Cortez's expedition, but that's not true, because he's a real person in this as well, and he had his failed expedition already. So that's crazy. I was looking up to see if this river was real to figure out where they were in the Gulf of Mexico, and then instead I found this senior Navarez and how he's a real person. I just read the Wikipedia page for Conquistador Navarez, and I think I spoiled myself for what happens in this book because it talked about how only 3 Spaniards and 1 enslaved man from Morocco, who's our narrator, Estebanico, in this book, and how they went someplace, which I don't want to spoil in case you haven't read this book and you're watching this vlog, but that's crazy that this book is so based on real events. I just like totally, I mean, I knew that it was about a Spanish conquistador and like the enslaved Mustafa El-Zamori, but I had no idea that he was a real person. That's crazy. I also, just to update you again, I did know that Cabeza de Vaca, who is also in this book, was a real person. So I don't know why I thought all the other people in this book were fake, because obviously he's a real person and like conquistadors really came to America. I don't know why I was so convinced that everyone in this book was fictional when very obviously they were not fictional.
Alright, this is one of my cats. This is Coco. He doesn't usually like being on camera, but can you say hi? There he is.
Coco.
Isn't he pretty? You're such a good boy.
Yes, he's a good boy. You can't see it, but
oh my God, Jenny, it's snowing!
It's snowing! Hi all, Merry Christmas if you celebrate it, or Happy Friday if you don't. It's about 2 p.m. on Friday, December 25th, and I thought I would just kind of go over the things that are bookish related that I got that I thought would be fun to share, as well as give a brief reading update. As I said, it's about 2 o'clock and I'm about to take a little rest, but before I do that, I did just want to update the vlog. So one of my sisters got me 2 books related to like sustainable fashion and kind of repairing your own clothing. So she got me The Conscious Closet, The Revolutionary Guide to Looking Good While Doing Good by Elizabeth Klein, which I've been really intrigued about and wanted to acquire for myself for quite a while. So I'm excited to have this as kind of more of a referencey text. And then she also got me this more kind of how-to book, which is Wear, Repair, Repurpose by Lily Fulop, I believe is how you say her name, which is another fun one. They have a lot of just kind of like how-tos of how to repair your clothes to make them last longer, which are definitely things that I've been interested in trying to learn more about. So I'm excited that I have both of those books. Also on a like kind of clothing type of thing, one of my closest friends did get me these beautiful earrings that are kind of hard to see, but they are hoop earrings that have kind of a nice ceramic look to them, so those are really pretty. And then I also got 2 cookbooks, the first of which I got from my other sister, which is Weeknight Baking Recipes to Fit in Your Schedule by Michelle Lopez, who runs the blog Hummingbird High. And this one, I'll do a little flip through here, but this one is a cookbook that has a bunch of recipes from all different kinds of baked goods and basically gives you how to do them over the course of multiple days, or they're recipes that don't have a ton of prep time involved or like kind of active work time, which is a really great idea. I've had this cookbook on my like cookbook wish list for quite a while, so I'm super excited about that one. And then from my parents, I ended up getting Sean Brock's South cookbook. This cookbook is one that I have also wanted for quite a while. Sean Brock is a chef who's originally in Charleston, but now I believe he's in Nashville. He has a newer restaurant there, and he obviously is a Southern chef, and he uses a lot of kind of traditional Southern cuisine. He's very interested in kind of the full aspects of like discovering and recovering food history in the South, which I think is really interesting. And yeah, his food is just like amazingly delicious looking. I've wanted to go to his restaurant in Nashville for quite a while and just have never gotten the chance to go, but this is another one that I am super excited about. And I actually have his first cookbook, which is called Heritage. Those are all the kind of little Christmassy things that I wanted to share with you. I I also wanted to let you know that I'm about 265 pages into the Moor's account, and I'm pretty sure I will finish this at some point later today, as I only have about like 50-60 pages left, and I'm really enjoying this so far. And I think the last time I talked about this, I was mentioning that I didn't realize this was based on real life, so that's been really fun to discover that. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the plot. I think it took a long time for it to really grow on me, but now that I'm nearing the end, I have enjoyed this quite a lot. So excited to finish this one later today and potentially check in more. We're probably doing some games in the afternoon and then having our like Christmas dinner, so I'm not sure how much more footage I will have, but if not, then I think I will check in tomorrow, which may or may not be the last day of the vlog. I probably have to start editing it tomorrow and see how long it is and if I want to continue it on until the end of the year. So yeah, that's about it for now. Again, Merry Christmas if you do celebrate. So it's about 3 o'clock on Saturday, December 26th, and I was about to sit down and start working on making my spreads for my 2021 bullet journal, which I went to pick up this morning. It is this brand. I don't know how to say that because I don't know any German, but it's a pretty popular bullet journal brand, and it's like a hardcover and it has numbered pages, so I'm super excited about that. But before I start working on that, I thought I would come and close out this vlog as I was uploading the footage and putting it into my little editing software, and realized that this video is getting pretty long, and so I'm ready to be done with it. So if you have gotten to this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Also, in addition to getting my bullet journal this morning, I treated myself to some new pens, which will be exciting. And then also this book was 50% off at Barnes & Noble, which is where I had ordered my bullet journal from, which is His Truth is Marching On by John Meacham, which I actually read earlier this year. I think I read it back in August as an early advanced copy, but since it was a book that I enjoyed and it was 50% off, I decided to get a copy for myself to have on my shelves. And also I think my mom was interested in reading this one, so I did pick up a copy of that. But those were kind of all of my errands while I walked over there. I did listen to an audiobook, which I will mention in a minute, but I thought I would just wrap up kind of everything I talked about in this vlog and finish things out and then send you on your way. So over the course of this vlog, I managed to finish 5 books, 3 of which I don't think I actually ever mentioned that I finished. So the first book that I finished was Kink Stories, which is an anthology edited by Garth, Greenwell, and Kwon. I ended up giving this one 2.75 stars. I will talk about all of these books, including this one, in my December wrap-up, which is going to come out at the beginning of January. So I'm not going to go into a ton of depth about them here, but I did finish Kink. I also, as you know, finished Elatsoe by Darcie, a little batcher. I gave this one 4.5 stars and really enjoyed it quite a lot. And this one did fulfill the reading one prompt of reading a picture book written by a woman of color, because this book technically does have pictures on each chapter heading, and the illustrator Ravina Kai is credited on the title page, so I thought that would count. I also ended up finishing just last night The Moor's Count by Lalami, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it quite a lot. I think Lalami's interest and her research in this time period and understanding kind of how these expeditions worked was really well done and really well executed in this novel. I do think it was a little slow at times and a little dense, but that may also have just been because the time period that this novel covers is quite extensive. But I did enjoy it quite a lot, and I think if you're a fan of literary historical fiction, you would enjoy this one quite a bit if you've not already read it. It is a bit of a backlist title. I think it's from like 2014, if I remember correctly. Then also on Christmas Eve, I finished Walkable City, How Downtown Can Save America One Step at a Time by Jeff Speck. This one I gave 3.75 stars, and I did really enjoy, although I do think if you're not someone who works in the urban planning, civil engineering, city government, or kind of adjacent advocacy roles to any of those fields, I'm not sure if you as a layperson would really get that much out of this book, because it's very policy and engineering driven and not necessarily about individual steps you could take towards living a more walkable life within your urban environment that you live in, which obviously walkability is something that is determined at kind of a more city-wide level, and less so, you know, you will not be as inclined to walk if you don't live in a super walkable place. But I do wish it had a little bit more of kind of what people can do as individuals to either advocate for better walkability within their urban center, or what they can do to kind of work around any problems with walkability and the lack of access in their urban center. So that was one critique I had of this book, but I did still enjoy it, particularly as this is an area of interest for me. And so as I said, I gave this one 3.75 stars. I also finished the holiday romance novella Mangoes and Mistletoe by Adriana Herrera. This one I gave 3.25 stars. I think I finished this one on Christmas Eve, but it might have been on Christmas Eve. I don't remember, but this one was fine. There really wasn't that much that really stood out to me about this novella. I do think it had conflicts that would have been better suited to a romance novel, as the novella format to me is very much where kind of like low stakes romance or couples that are just starting to get their start are best suited, and so a whole like drawn out conflict that would require a lot of resolution just don't really make sense in a novella, because you don't have the page length to come to an appropriate conclusion that really feels reasonable and valid. So that was my main gripe with this romance novella, is that it very much had a like romance novel level conflict, which I felt like was pretty unnecessary, especially given that this at most kind of just felt like a fling. So to have this novel level conflict and novel level resolution felt a little odd to me, which is why I only gave it 3.25 stars. But it was a fun time. If you are looking for female romances, I would probably recommend this one. It was pretty good. And so those are the 5 books that I finished during this vlog, some of which I did not talk about previously. I am also currently reading 5 books, 3 of which I'm hoping to finish before the end of the year. As I said, it's December 26th, and so there are 5 days left in the end of the year, which is crazy to think about. But I am at 148 books read for the year, and I'd love to get to 150, which I do think is possible. There are 3 books that are books that I really would just like to be done with, so I will quickly go over those 3 now, which hopefully I will talk about in my December wrap up in more depth. But this morning on my walk to Barnes & Noble and Target, where I picked up those bullet journal items, I was listening to American Eden by Victoria Johnson, which the subtitle on this one is David Hozar, Botany and the Medicine in the Garden of the Early Republic. And this one is quite enjoyable. I'm actually finding some parallels between this one and Stamped from the Beginning, which is another one that I'm currently reading, because this one is talking about some of the abolitionist views during Hozar's time, and the fact that Hozar did have slaves. That was kind of mentioned as I was on my walk, which I was going to update you in real time, but the clips of me talking outside while on a walk are not the best audio quality, so I decided to just wait until now. But I thought those parallels were kind of really interesting, particularly given the way that Benjamin Rush, who is a prominent figure in this book, given that he was a physician that was very influential to David Hozar, is portrayed in this book in terms of his abolitionist views compared to this book, which in Ibram X. Kendi's view, Benjamin Rush really had more assimilationist views and not necessarily anti-racist views, which is the kind of main argument of this book, is that many people, while not necessarily considered overtly racist for their time, actually did not have what were really anti-racist views. They were still attributing to like assimilationist racist views, which is a really kind of important aspect of this book. And so I found that interesting that in this argument of Benjamin Rush, he is still considered a person with a lot of racist views. However, they're just not as racist as like a segregationist, as Ibram X. Kendi puts it. So I thought that was really interesting that Benjamin Rush was like kind of mentioned in this book in that way, and how that's different from Stamped from the Beginning. But yeah, I'm 127 pages into this one, and there's about 335. It is pretty slow going because it's one of the more dense nonfiction books that I've read in a while. There's just a lot of information here, and it is just slightly overwritten, I would say, or just written for a very specific audience in mind, who's a, you know, very high intellectual, but not an academic per se. I would say it's kind of the genre of person that this is written for, but I am enjoying it, and I do find this time period and this person to be very interesting. I also have this book that I'm going to continue keeping a secret, which I have about like 300-ish pages left to go. I think I'm about 150 pages into it, but I'm reading this for a reading project that I want to make a priority in the first like 2 months of 2021 to finish. So this is one that I really would like to finish by the end of 2020, given that I've been reading it since the very beginning of November. And then finally, the 3rd book that I would really like to finish by the end of the year is Aria by Nazanine Hozar, which I'm about 32% of the way through, and was a 2020 release that I got sent an early copy of, so I'd like to finish it before its year of publication. Then there are 2 books that I'm currently reading that if I just get into a reading train and I'm able to finish all 3 of those books, I'd love to finish these 2, but I don't think that's going to happen. The first of which is Stamped from the Beginning. I'm only about 160-ish pages into this one, and there's about 550 pages, so I don't think I'm going to finish this, but I'm fine with this continuing into January of 2021, or potentially even February, as I do kind of like the slower pace I've been going with this one. On a related note, I also feel that way about Visionary Women, How Rachel Carson, Jane Jacobs, Jane Goodall, and Alice Waters Change Our World by Andrea Barnett. This one is super fascinating. I only got about 60 pages into it this week, but I've been really enjoying it quite a lot. It's written in a really accessible way, particularly for a biography, I find. I mean, granted, these 4 women are of great interest to me, but I just really like the way that Andrea Barnett has captured their life and the kind of important aspects of their life for her arguments of how all 4 of them, while desperate people that didn't know one another, all had a similar influence on the way we think about things. So I'm really enjoying this book for that reason. However, this is also an audiobook I'm listening to, so my preference is to finish American Eden, which is an audiobook first, and then get back into Visionary Women. So I will likely continue this one also, since it's over 500 pages or close to 500 pages. I'll likely continue listening to this one on audio throughout January. And then the one other thing that I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I just wanted to tie up, since this is the very end of Vlogmas, is that I will not be reading The Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver, just because I want to give this book its due, and it is also over 500 pages. So this one's just going into my books that I have acquired since before 2020 little reading project that I think I explained in last week's vlog, and will explain more in my January 2021 TBR. So it's gone in that little pile, and this one will be one that I'll get to at some point in 2021, and I will just kind of finagle my reading from the rest of 2020 to fit that Women's Prize / Stella Prize winner. I think I will just count Girl, Woman, Other most likely, which was longlisted for this year's prize, so that feels like that is close enough. And also the Women's Prize has had some shady things this year, so I am not their biggest fan at the moment. So those are kind of all of my updates, I do believe. If you have been watching these Vlogmases, thank you so much for coming along in this December Vlogmas journey. This has been really fun, and I definitely do think that this has helped me figure out how I want to do vlogs in the future. So do expect probably more vlogs in 2021, just because I do find them really fun to kind of be more casual and include other aspects of my life that I may not otherwise, like my cooking and that type of thing. So that is kind of all I want to say. If you found my channel through this video, I'd love to have you stick around and subscribe. Also, do look out sometime at the beginning of January. I will be doing a bunch of videos in terms of like a Reading Women Challenge wrap-up and a favorite books of the year, so do look out for those videos at the beginning of January. I'm not going to set any specific dates for myself, just because I do want to have some chill time, and I gotta work on a final grad school app during these next few days, so I don't have any set schedule for when those videos will be going up. But I did just want to let you know that they're coming. So I think that's everything. I hope you're having a great rest of your day whenever you watch this, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.